Well, hey everybody, it's Pastor Andrew here once again. I have a lot that I'd like to share with you all today, so I'm just going to get right into it. The first thing I'd like to talk about is church. Uh, if you haven't heard yet, our church is planning to open this Sunday, June 7th. And that's going to look a little bit different than it normally had, especially when we last met way back in March, which is really weird to think about. Uh, but some of the things you can expect if your family decides to come and worship with us in person is that we will be practicing social distancing. So encouraging everybody as you're walking through to keep a 6 feet distance from people, and that families and people that are in shelter together will be sitting in a pew to themselves, and we will have people spread out by every other pew so that people are safely distant from one another. We are encouraging and highly recommending that masks be worn as we're here at the church, but we're not going to turn anybody away if they don't have a mask or if they choose not to wear one. We'll also have masks that are provided here that you can have and take with you. We'll also have hand sanitizer set up for you, and we'll be cleaning the church after service so that there is no fear of spread of anything. We will be hitting those high trafficked areas, those high touch areas. But we're just really excited to be able to get back to a somewhat normalcy of church again. If your family is just saying, "Hey, we're not ready to come back to church yet," or we kind of fall in one of those high risk areas, that's perfectly fine. We're not going to just ride you off or anything of the sort. We're going to have some sort of opportunity for you to join with us, whether that be a live Facebook feed or our recorded services just posted a little bit later than what we normally have done. But we're really excited to see this moving forward. Another thing that I want to talk about is probably a question that you have on your minds as you've heard me ramble through this first announcement is what are we doing about youth group? And the answer is, as of right now, of me recording this on Monday afternoon, that I don't have a solid answer on that yet. I have reached out and emailed your parents about what they feel comfortable with having you a part of youth group moving forward, what that may look like, and if they're okay with that or not. And if we get a good amount of people okay with it, I will put those considerations together and come up with a good opportunity for us to be able to get together, whether that be continuing these online sessions or Zoom or these different videos, or if we can have some people gather who are comfortable with it and families who are comfortable with it gathering together here at the church, more than likely outside, and enjoying some time together. So for right now, I don't have any solid information I can give you about that, but I will keep you up to date when I am able to make those decisions. So I believe that's all the information that I have regarding any updates or anything of the sort. Okay, I'll go into this next. Every week I put out a weekly challenge for us. And this week I want to talk about how we can give back a little bit, a tangible way of showing our appreciation for some people. And with this week's challenge will be, and I'll be posting this again on Tuesday when I normally post the challenges or share them with you, is that I want us to reach out and to thank somebody for their hard work through this time. We're not out of the woods yet through this all, but we're hopefully seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. With some counties, especially in Pennsylvania, moving to green. Warren County is one of those. We've been in green. And things are starting to look like things may be going back to somewhat normal. I want us to pause and look back and thank some people who really helped and took charge and did a lot of great things through this time. And I want your challenge this week is to go out of your way and thank those people. And if you're wondering who are some of those people you can thank, here's a list to start with. First off is Pastor Brian. He has done a lot behind the scenes as the senior pastor of the church, helping us, guiding us, doing a lot to get us to where we're at right now, and making those hard decisions and listening and learning along the way. And it's really important that he knows that he's been doing a great job through this. There are other people that you can reach out to. You can reach out to Sarah Hamilton and Bob and Diane Hamilton, because if you have little kids or have little brothers and sisters or little cousins or other people that are little people who are a part of the CKC group, you know that they have been going week in, week out, and dropping off goodie bags, care packages, different things like that, for them to be involved and to continue to grow here at the church. You can thank our Sunday school teachers who are still providing opportunities for not only our younger groups to get together and to learn, but our adult groups as well, of learning how to lead on Zoom and how awkward that can be. You can thank people on our board who have come alongside us and helped us to walk through these hard conversations, to wrestle back and forth of what is the right time for us to open, what will that look like, and working through all these different things that we have. You can thank Michelle Welker for being a leader at Warren General and the great things that she's doing and the ways that she's helped us as a church of looking at this from a medical perspective. You can thank the other healthcare professionals in our congregation. Penny Jensen is one of them. You can thank our teachers in our congregation. You can thank our teachers' aides and our helpers and those in church, in school administration aspects, all of those people who have learned how to lead a classroom over Zoom. These are just some of the people that you can reach out to and thank this week, whether that be a handwritten card, a text message, a phone call, or in person if you're able to do so. This is not me begging for for gratitude or anything of the sort. I do not want any of the thanks or anything. This is not about me. This is how I can help to lead you to thank these people who totally deserve it. This is not me for asking for any of this. And please don't. Go ahead, ask. There's many more people that you can reach out to and thank during this time. So go ahead, and my challenge to you this week is to thank some people who've been working very hard through this time. This transitions me into kind of the meat of this video, and we're already going 9.5 minutes. So if you stuck along this long, thanks. But to shift gears a little bit, I want to talk about what's unfolded over the last week, and especially over the weekend, with the George Floyd case and everything that's happening regarding that. And if you've watched our church service, Pastor Brian did an amazing job of explaining and kind of talking us through that a little bit. And it may have been a lot to take in at one point. So I just want to break it down a little bit more and just let you hear from my heart how I'm working through this, what thoughts I have from it, and what we together can learn from this. And the biggest thing that I've come back to is being able to listen. So many times, especially, and this is coming from me, especially as a pastor, I feel like I have to come up with an answer. And there's many times naturally where I find myself that I can easily listen. I'm more inclined to be that person. In some certain circumstances, I can easily listen. And I hope that I'm a good listener for you if you were to come to me with any concerns, or that we could talk, and that you feel that I would listen to you well enough, that you would be willing to come to me with different concerns that you may have. But I feel as we're living in Warren County or surrounding area, geographically where we're located, many of us don't interact with people outside of our race on a day-to-day basis. And that's just where we're at geographically. And in itself, there's nothing wrong with that. But not being open to different people, different ethnicities, people of different backgrounds, of different races, not being open and understanding of who they are and where they've come from, that's where we fall into trouble. Where we feel that we know all sides of the story, and that we can stamp our seal of approval on it, and that we're in the right. And sometimes we need to back off and realize that we don't know all of the circumstances, that we don't see everything through the same perspective as someone from the African American culture or community, or from another racial background. Myself, I do have friends, mentors, people in my life who I genuinely care about, that are Black, that are of different backgrounds than me. One of my youth pastors, mentors, and good friends of mine is an African American, born and raised in Mississippi, and is married to a white woman. And he has told me multiple times in different stories of people, of him growing up in the church, and of people in his family and of her family, and of their church family, that did not approve of them dating and did not approve of them getting married, and had really had to struggle with that. And that is a shame. And this is not something that happened 100 years ago. This happened in our lifetime. And there's circumstances and people who this is a true reality to them, of people not being okay with that at all. And I hate to bring this up because I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I think it just kind of speaks into just what kind of culture we live in right in our vicinity. And I'll try to make this brief because we're already at 14 and a half minutes. But I think a little bit of time after Christmas, I came here to the church one morning, and outside of the door, before I had got in, Pastor Brian was away. There was an individual standing outside of the church, and we got to talking and found out that he was homeless at the moment, that he was traveling from one place trying to get to another, and just asked, saw that this was a church, and honestly, the first thing that he asked me was if we had services tonight, and that he could join in our worship service. I said, I'm sorry, we don't have anything going on Monday nights, but let me help you. And I was able, with the help of with another individual, we were able to get him the help, get him connected with the men's shelter in Jamestown, help him get to the next step. And I did not judge this individual. I sat down with him, heard his story, was able to get him a meal, was able to get him a shelter for the evening, get him a set place where he could get back on his feet. We had different conversations about his goals, his aspirations, and just his ability, his want to be able to get back home, so he can put the steps in place for him to be able to get back to work. And the one detail that I haven't mentioned yet is that this individual was an African American, that he was Black. And I had found out through the grapevine a little bit later that other individuals in our own community had seen this individual walking around, and were in fear that he was going to do something, that either, and this is all hearsay, and different comments were made about this individual of, if I had my gun, I would have done this, or if he would have came onto my property, I would have. And I'm not trying to bring up anything. I'm just trying to give you a picture of what the world that we live in, the Warren County world, the surrounding Warren County, Jamestown surrounding area, what we live in. And on top of everything that has escalated over this last weekend, this last week, this last month with these different cases, I think it's important for us as a predominantly white church, a predominantly white area, to realize that in this moment, as Christians, that we need to listen, that we need to understand what's happening in the world around us, why these certain people are upset, why our fellow brothers and sisters in Christ are in mourning over what has happened and what has continued to happen, and for us not to immediately respond with our own opinion. Ironically, God has brought me back to the book of James, my favorite, right? And this is just how God works. He has brought me right back to the verses right before talking about hearing and doing, that led us into why we study God's word and how to study God's word. So this is James chapter 1. I'm going to read verses 19 to 21. It says, "Dear brothers and sisters, understand this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For human anger does not accomplish God's righteousness. Therefore, ridding yourselves of all moral filth and the evil that is so prevalent, humbly receive the implanted word, which is able to save your souls." I think this speaks directly into what we should be doing right now. We should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. We need to be able to listen to our brothers and sisters who are hurting, who have been suffering for generations. We need to be slow to speak, of not putting our own agenda and our own perspective on the circumstance, but being able to listen and to come up with actual responses that help out, That it's not how can I get the best out of this, but how can we get the best out of this? And finally, slow to anger. It's okay to be angry at this situation. It's important to be slow to anger at this situation, because the immediate response that we have seen of rioting and destroying businesses and burning down buildings and flipping cop cars and all these different things that have unfolded over the weekend, this is wise, because we're fast to anger. Jesus got angry. Jesus was angry. Jesus saw the wrong things of the world, of people taking advantage of other people, and that's what led him to anger. Anger in itself is not sinful. Having righteous anger, being angry because there is injustice in the world, is not a sin in itself. But lashing out and doing evil in your anger is sinful. So through this all, tangibly, what can we be doing right now? That's the question that I'm going to be answering right now. Is do your research. Listen to what leaders of the African American community, Christian leaders of the African American community, are saying right now. Listen to what they're going through. Get a good perspective of the injustice that they have been living in, and what their generations before them have fought for them to be able to get to a somewhat better place, and ask and reach out to people, if you know of people of color, to ask how you can be helping from in their perspective, and listen to their story. Be slow to come up with a way to answer this circumstance. I heard it really well said that it's so easy for us to push this under the rug and not to mourn about it. And I think as Christians, we need to lament, to be in mourning, to be sorrowful of the life that was lost, and not forget what has happened. And finally, just be slow to anger. As in this climate that we're in, this is kind of a boiling point for some people of, we've been locked at home, we're sick and tired of this. This is a way for us to finally get out and to show it to the world around us. And that may not be the case for all of us, but anger can come out in different ways as we are seeing this unfold. In the worst case scenario, that might be a sign in your heart of where you're at in your love for other people that don't look like you, that may not act in the same way that you do, that may not have the same background and the same lifestyle that you do. But stopping and saying, instead of me filling my heart with hate because these people don't look and act like me, how can I be showing them the love of Jesus through the way that I interact with them, the way that I think about them, the way that I present myself to the world around me about this situation. All these different things. How can you show love by listening, be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to anger through this time? I'm really looking forward to being able to connect with you guys again. If you have any questions, if you want to talk about this further, I'm always here, but happy to be here. See you guys.